I was having dinner at a restaurant when suddenly a group of police officers burst through the door. I looked around. There was only a couple and an elderly man in the place. I immediately realized the cops were there for me. Within seconds, several officers with their guns drawn approached me and took me straight to the station. At that point, I had absolutely no idea what was going on, so when the police asked me who I was, I chose to remain silent. Later, a detective named Carl brought me to an interrogation room. He told me they'd received a report that day about a body found at a farm. The victim had been shot to death, and someone had seen me there that morning, which made me a suspect in the case. Hearing this, I quickly explained that I hadn't killed anyone. I'd only been at that farm because I'd taken a long-distance bus to this town and happened to get off near there. After listening to my explanation, Carl didn't seem entirely convinced. I started helping him analyze the case based on what he told me, but he still didn't quite trust me. Finally, he told me I'd need to stay at the station until they found evidence of my alibi. And just like that, I was locked up. But not long after, Carl found a phone number near the victim's body. To get to the truth as quickly as possible, he immediately tracked down the owner of that number, a man named Paul. When Carl asked Paul about his relationship with the victim, Paul glanced at a luxury car parked outside the window, and then flatly stated that he was the killer. Hearing this caught Carl off guard, but when he pressed Paul for details about what happened, Paul wouldn't say anything. He just kept insisting that he was the killer. Seeing this reaction, Carl understood that Paul wasn't the real killer, but that he definitely knew who was. So Carl immediately brought Paul back to the station. Meanwhile, Carl's colleague informed him that I'd still been on the bus at the time of the murder, which cleared me as the killer. So after Carl locked up Paul, he released me. But just as I was about to leave, Carl suddenly came back out. He said that even though they'd proven I wasn't the killer, it didn't mean I was completely above suspicion. Hearing this made me curious about what he was up to. Carl then brought me to his office. He told me he really appreciated my earlier case analysis, and while investigating my background, he discovered I was a retired Special Forces soldier. So he wanted to put me in a cell with Paul. Maybe Paul would open up to me. At that point, I immediately understood his intention. I didn't refuse. And just like that, I was cuffed again and got into the police van heading to jail with Paul.